I'm gonna show you something beautiful.
Finally, I have a chance to go up against Anita Sarkeesian. I didn't think it was going to happen. I figured she was finally so far gone that no one gave a shit anymore about her. But alas, here she is in a video talking about Muslims and race. Even though Muslims isn't a race, it's a religion. But she knows that, right? Let's take a look.
Is the crowd dispersed now?
No, they're still out there, but unarmed. They're just chanting, standard death to America stuff.
From True Lies to American Sniper, from 24 to Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Western media is full of images of evil brown people who need to be wiped from the earth by noble, righteous white men heroically fighting for freedom and justice. And sure, it's so commonplace by this point that maybe you don't even bat an eye at old-fashioned American Islamophobia in our media.
And there it is already. That might be a new record for a video I've made where the person that I'm critiquing has said something that is completely ignorant so quickly. She's talking about brown people and how we just, without batting an eye, have no problem with them being considered the terrorists and bad guys. And we see America as the great white hope. And then she goes into Islamophobia. What? Islam, Muslims, Islamophobia. None of that has to do with the color of people's skin because that has to do with their religion. We'll get more into it. Hold on. Number one, let me just point out this little fun fact. Harrison Ford was supposed to have an actual fight with that guy, but because he had the flu, he just kind of wanted to go and rest. So they filmed him just shooting him. And they thought it worked, and it did. Great scene from a great movie. Number two, Anita Sarkeesian. What the fuck are you doing? Why are you even showing that clip? What are you trying to say? You are basically making an assumption that just because that dude has a towel on his head that he's a Muslim, right? What the fuck? I mean, that's more offensive than even if he shot him for being Muslim. Alright, once again with the Iron Man clip, there's nothing in that movie that says that those people, those terrorists, are Muslim. Again, you're making an assumption based on apparently skin color and I guess clothing? And if anything, that they really do that. Terrorists actually do that. They will hold people hostage, say a bunch of shit into a camera, and then usually cut the person's head off or something. I mean, if anything, this is just art imitating life.
Killed our women and our children, bombed our cities from afar like cowards, and you dare to call us terrorists?
Here, my desert blossom, give the change. Have you ever considered joining a harem?
Alright, I can't speak about all of these movies, I guess, because, some of them I haven't seen. But the fictional ones, I don't believe say anything about those terrorists being Muslim per se. Sure, they're brown, but that's because of they come from the Middle East. And for the ones that are not fiction, that are real, that's because they take place with war that was happening in the Middle East. And some of them were for sure Muslim. What do you want them to do? Do you want them to whitewash these movies? What do you want?
Oh my God. They found me. I don't know how, but they found me.
What? Back to the Future? Even that beloved comedy classic takes a moment to toss in a few scary brown men to menace and terrorize our white heroes.
Alright, I have to separate Back to the Future out from everything else because Back to the Future is classic. You don't fuck with Back to the Future. That movie is almost perfect. I mean, I would say it's perfect, but I mean, you could go through the loopholes that the movie presents, but that's not. Plus, Back to the Future takes place in 1985. It was filmed in 1985. It was released in 1985. And I want to assume that it was probably written in 1984. So the whole thing with Libya and plutonium and all that stuff, that's not really unheard of, especially in the early to mid 80s. And, well, honestly, even before that. Evidence has been released from IAEA in 2004, suggests that during the 70s and 80s, Libya decided to pursue both the uranium and plutonium-based pathways to nuclear weapons. Steps were taken in the 1970s to gain access to uranium or uranium conversion facilities and enrichment technologies that work together would have enabled Libya to pursue weapon-grade uranium. Also in 1982, Libya attempted to purchase a plant for manufacturing uranium from the Belgian firm Belgoglabla. I'm not even going to try, and I'm sorry. The U.S. analysts suspected that it was to make uranium hexafluoride, whatever that is. Libya has also admitted that during the 1980s it conducted undeclared laboratory-scale uranium conversions experiments at the Tajora Nuclear Research Center. In 1984, Libya ordered a pilot-scale uranium conversion facility. A Japanese company supplied Libya with the technology. However, in 1975, Libya reaffirmed its commitment to the 1968 Treaty of Non-Proliferation Nuclear Weapons. Gaddafi has said in interviews in 1981 and 1984 that they were looking for peaceful applications for nuclear energy and not making a quote-unquote an Islamic bomb. Now, what's funny about that is this is coming from Gaddafi. So maybe Gaddafi wasn't looking to do anything. Let's pretend all of this that they were doing with this nuclear energy and nuclear weapon bullshit, blah, 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 was just for nuclear energy and uranium and stuff like that and not to make weapons. That doesn't mean other Libyans may have not been trying to make bombs with this stuff. Kind of like, you know, how people say, oh, Muslims and Islam, it's a religion of peace. Except for the people that massacred those people in Manchester. Shit like that. Well, there's nothing saying that this organization or whatever from movie Back to the Future wasn't a radical group. My point is, Back to the Future took something that was a real situation in the 1980s with Libya and plutonium and stuff and used it to their advantage for the movie. That's it. Completely harmless, and it wasn't ridiculous.
Unfortunately, we can't hop in Doc Brown's DeLorean and undo all the harmful representations of Muslims, Arabs, and Middle Easterners that have haunted our stories since, well, basically since the Crusades. But we can try to make sure history doesn't keep repeating itself.
I already mentioned the Crusades in another video, so I'm not going to do it again here. If you want to know more about that, you can go watch that video. I only have a handful of videos, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. I can't remember which one it is. And by me mentioning it, I mean I posted a clip in a video from a Steven Crowder video, just to be clear. As for history repeating itself, let me let you in on a little secret, Anita. When it comes to Islamic terrorism, history is constantly fucking repeating itself. Every time you turn around, there's another fucking terrorist attack from the Islamic faith. Look at this. This is just a small glimpse into the last month of terrorist attacks by the Islamic faith. I have a link in the description for the whole thing.
Oh, are you an artist, Mr. Falconer?
No, sir. I work for a little company called Texan Oil.
Well, there is no oil here, Mr. Falconer. Just sand.
Antonio Banderas? What? What's he doing in this? Now, I've never seen Day of the Falcon, so I can't really say much on it, but, I mean, I gotta assume, you know, if he's playing a Muslim, there's nothing wrong with that because it's not a race, it's a religion, and anyone can be Muslim. He can also be playing as any race he wants to and just be living in the Middle East. So I don't see the problem with that either. And can you really call him brown? I mean, he's, I would say, a very light-skinned person. I mean, he's obviously not like white American because he just isn't, but he's a pretty white guy. And at least, like, this is the stuff that kind of annoys me, because I don't see any people bitching about Christian Bale playing as an American when he's not, or Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine, who's Canadian, even though Hugh Jackman is Australian. Oh, what the fuck? We're living in a society where Will Smith isn't even black enough anymore.
Now sure, not every Middle Eastern character in films is a villain. In the 1921 box office smash The Sheik, the dashing hero gets the girl in the end. But the Arab world of the film is presented as exotic and dangerous, and the Sheikh himself, the one good, heroic Arab, is played by Italian-American heartthrob Rudolph Valentino. You see, since he's not really Arab, he's allowed to get the girl in the end.
I see what you're doing with bringing up the Sheik like this from 1921, and it's bullshit. I mean, what about like all the Sinbad movies? I mean, sure, they're probably played by mostly white characters, but so is this guy, right? So, I mean, and why are you making an assumption that the only reason why he was allowed to get the girl at the end is because he really wasn't Arab? What if, hear me out, what if they actually had an Arab playing that part and they would have still got the girl at the end? Maybe it's about the story and not the actor. I mean, plus, he's playing an Arab, so, I mean, it's still basically an Arab getting the girl at the end. Plus, 1921, how many Arabs do you think were working in Hollywood as actors at the time? I mean, come on. Stuff like this is so fucking annoying. It's not even worth arguing. It's not even worth pointing out as being bullshit. I wish I wouldn't have pointed it out, but I had to. Fuck.
Have you ever noticed how in Disney's Aladdin, the good guy might as well be a tanned American surfer dude, but the bad guys look and sound a little more, Arab?
What are you talking about, Anita? Everyone in this movie looks exactly alike. They're all drawn the same. The only way the bad guys could be called more quote-unquote Arab is because they're, I don't know, wearing towels on their head, I guess. But even the fucking father's wearing a towel on his head, turban, whatever you want to call it. I mean, look at these pictures. Their skin color is all the same. Oh, how did that get in there?
While Hollywood historically has sometimes given good Arab roles to non-Arab actors, it has also sometimes given not-so-good Arab and South Asian roles to white actors too, denying brown people work and decent on-screen representations in one fell swoop. It's basically the world's worst catch-22.
I guess it is a catch-22 by your standards, because Arabic people shouldn't be portraying these bad guys, and people that are not Arabic shouldn't be portraying Arabics as bad guys? What?
One of the biggest problems with this is that it erases the actual lives and cultures of Middle Eastern people and leads many Western viewers to lump all of them into the same group.
You're doing that right now, Anita. You're lumping all these people into one big Middle Eastern group. Whether they're Muslim, Arabic, Sikh, whatever it is, if they have a certain skin color, have a certain style of dress, accent, anything, you're lumping them all as just Middle Eastern people into one big basket. You're the fucking ignorant one here.
So let's start by clarifying a few terms whose meaning has been obscured by media that paints the entire Middle East with the same broad, shallow, ignorant brush. First of all, we've done a lot of research on this.
You've done a lot of research on this. You've done a lot of research on this. Hey, who's we? You got a mouse in your pocket? You've done a lot of research on this, she says.
You can't just lump Arabs and Muslims together because they're not the same thing. Arabs are a specific ethnic group, united by culture and language, and who primarily originate from Middle Eastern countries. Arab is not, repeat, not a racial category. Got it? Got it? Got it?
Got it?
You can be white, black, brown, and still be Arab.
Yeah, I got it, Anita. But do you got it? Do the people that listen to your bullshit rhetoric got it? Everything you just said right now contradicts everything you've said in your video so far. It's complete bullshit. Why did you have a problem with the guy being Italian in the 1921 movie The Sheik? Why do you have a problem with Antonio Banderas playing as a Sheik or Arab of some type? Why did you say that Aladdin was too white and Jafar was too not white, too brown? If being Arabic isn't a race, then all the bullshit that you've said so far is completely null and void. You've painted yourself into a corner. You are either the most ignorant person in the world or the world's greatest troll. And I have to lean towards the latter because it makes all the sense in the world. You say this shit knowing people will find fault with it, rip it apart, and then you can go boo-hoo crying saying that you're being harassed and ask for more money because you're a professional victim. You're so fucking pathetic. Your videos are so fucking pathetic. Your logic is so fucking pathetic.
A Muslim is someone who practices Islam, a religion with over 1.7 billion members spanning a vast number of ethnic and cultural identities. The Muslim world actually comprises a multitude of groups that folks often forget, including Iranians, South Asians, North Africans, Indonesians, Black Americans.
I'm glad you're doing this, sincerely. You're now talking about how Muslims isn't a race and how it can be any race, any skin color. However, I do find it kind of interesting that you stop naming off races and skin color at Black Americans, though you do leave it with a written message of quote unquote and more. But you don't bring up whites, white Muslims, white American Muslims. Why is that? I mean, look at these people. These are whites that are Muslim. They even have a dating website for white Muslims. Hell, the Boston Marathon bombers were both even white. But I guess you don't talk about that because it goes against your narrative that everyone that is Islamophobic and hates Muslims or doesn't want to deal with Muslim terrorism are evil white supremacists.
Islam is not confined to the Middle East, to olive-skinned people, or just people who speak Arabic. But despite the fact that Islam is a religion, not a race, it's vital for us to understand that Islamophobia is racism.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
No, you can't do that. That's bullshit. You cannot, in one sentence, admit that Islam and Muslims is not a race and then say Islamophobia is racism. That's complete bullshit. It doesn't even fucking make sense. You're just now perpetuating the ignorance of people that are running around calling other people racist for not liking Islam and not liking Muslims. No, you just can't do that. You can't just make shit up as you go along. Let's be clear about Islamophobia. Phobia is a fear, okay? And some people, they do dislike Islam and Muslims out of fear. Some of them rightfully so, like Blair White has said that she is Islamophobic because she's a transgender. And if she went to a country with Sharia law, they would at least throw her in prison for it. If not, throw her off a rooftop and murder her. So I can understand why some people are fearful of Islam and Muslims. But it's still, at the end of the day, not racist and not racism. You're full of shit. And you know it. And this is, naughty, Anita. If you were here right now, I would take your face and rub your nose in that word, because that's bad.
In fact, the former president of the Islamic Society of North America is a white woman, Dr. Ingrid Mattson. But let's be real, nobody who spreads the hate of Islam is talking about white ladies.
Yes, they are. You're wrong again.
Particularly scary brown men from the Middle East. It's been so effective that most of you probably didn't even know that this man isn't Muslim, he's Sikh.
How about you take that condescending PSA of yours and go fucking give it to the Cosmopolitan? Those ignorant fucks decided to run a story about a Sikh taxi driver that was giving free rides to people that needed it and claimed him to be Muslim. I also would like to take a second here to point out a clip from before that you played. Yeah, that guy there. How do you know he's not Sikh? I mean, you were making judgment calls on him being Muslim earlier in your video, but for all we know, he might actually just be a Sikh.
Filmmakers and TV producers know how to objectify women, how to prize them for their physical attributes and their appearance.
This is such a tired and stupid argument, and I'm tired of fucking seeing it go on and on and on. You're kicking a dead horse. See, look at this. Men are objectified too. Get it? It happens on both sides. Men and women objectified. No one fucking cares. Sex sells.
Recently, during the 2016 presidential campaign, Republican candidates tossed around the phrase radical Islamic terrorism as if it were some kind of magic spell they could use to make votes appear out of thin air.
Radical Islamic terrorist, radical Islamic terrorism, radical Islamic terrorism.
Radical Islamic terrorism.
Islamic terrorist.
Radical Islamic terrorism.
Radical Islamic terrorism.
Radical Islamic terrorism.
President Obama, if you won't say it, I will. Radical Islam.
Well, if they were using radical Islamic terrorism to get more votes, I guess it worked. Am I right?
Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business.
Seriously though, they separate the radicals when they say radical Islamic terrorists. Isn't that what you want? People like you, Anita, run around all the fucking time with your not all Muslims, not all Muslims, not all Muslims. Then when people do separate the radical terrorists from all other Muslims, you fucking find fault with it. I don't fucking understand. You're so hypocritical. It's insane.
Now, I can already hear the army of Richard Dawkins parroting anti-feminist Twitter users typing up their responses about how Islam is a religion dedicated to oppressing women. It's amazing how suddenly everyone's a feminist when it lets them perpetuate hate against brown people or dismiss concerns about how women are oppressed in their own culture.
Wow, listen to the sass on you. Oh my goodness. It's almost like you know that the only people that are watching this are people waiting to be able to debunk your bullshit. And you just can't handle it. Like, you're just already just I mean, it makes sense with all your condescending bullshit that you've done so far in this video. It just goes to show, I guess. I can't speak for everyone, but I'm still not a feminist. And when I bring up about how shitty Muslims are with women and how shitty countries with Sharia law are with women, I'm not doing it for feminism or anything like that. I'm just doing it because they're shitty to people at all. And yeah, I mean, okay, alright. Women have their problems here in the Western world, like the evil, dreaded manspreading. But that's just bullshit. That's just bullshit nitpicking and finding fault with men and hating men because feminism in the Western world don't have anything else to do.
So let's be clear. Misogyny is not a problem with Islam. Misogyny is a problem that some cultures, which happen to be Muslim, use the religion to perpetuate and justify.
It always comes back to misogyny with you and feminism and how men supposedly just hate women. And yet you're going to apologize for Islam and Muslims when it comes to misogyny. Everything you said before, all about race and blah, 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 that was all just you painting yourself into stupid corners and then coming back to this. And yet here you are painting yourself into one last fucking corner. It's not about misogyny in Islam. It's about people using Islam to be misogynistic. Well, how is that possible? If Islam isn't misogynistic, then how can people use it to be misogynists? It doesn't make sense. You don't make sense. Your rhetoric, all of it, none of it makes sense. You're so hypocritical on every fucking level. And the way you talk to the people that are watching this video, I mean, clearly you assume the only people watching you are people that know better and are going to call you out on your bullshit. It's why you've been so condescending this entire time. I can't imagine you being this arrogant and asinine to actually people that believe your bullshit and think of you as a I don't know, I hate to say a teacher or someone to look up to. I mean, maybe you are. Maybe you're just a bitch in life. Maybe just in general, you're just a rude bitch. And you talk to people like this and you talk down to people like this all the fucking time. What do I know? Thank you everyone for watching. I really appreciate it. I really want to hear your thoughts on what I had to say, what she had to say. Leave your comments below, please. If you like this video, please click the like, of course. And, I don't know, spread the word, I guess. Show it to people. Thanks for watching.
There are no strings on me.